gang, welcome back to Tin Man Customs, and this week we're going to work on yet another of the Seeker molds, as I said in my Sunstorm video, and that I had another mold, another Seeker character that I wanted to work on. So get him out of the way here. So these were the three original Seekers from the G1 cartoon, and when they started doing the Classics line, they came out with Starscream in 2006, and then came out with Skywarp. He was a store exclusive. You had to get him with a 2-pack with Ultra Magnus. And Thundercracker, however, didn't end up coming out originally. He was in a Botcon exclusive set in, let's see, what year was that? 2007. And it looked as if that was going to be the only way to get a Thundercracker figure. So back then I took another figure that had come out around the same time Starscream did, was a character called Acidstorm. I had no clue who that character was, but he was just another color variant, and so I took that figure and turned him into Thundercracker. And come along in 2011, the Hasbro finally came out with an official Thundercracker, which this is the official one, and so I pulled my custom off the shelf, replaced him with this one, and put him in storage, assuming that someday I would get back to stripping all the paint off of him and turning him back into Acidstorm. Now, several years ago, and I will look this up if I can find it, there was a customizer who had taken a masterpiece figure of Acidstorm and made him look more goopy, like he was able to emit like acid, and so the wings were a little melted, the hands had some glow-in-the-dark paint and glow-in-the-dark details on him. So I've got some glow-in-the-dark details. This Thundercracker is going to be just fine. But I've already started on my old Thundercracker figure, and tried stripping all the paint off of him, and let me tell you, that paint was on good. So this figure looks a little messy. You can see some of the green and the army camo pattern that was on him. Did not ever really like the color scheme on the figure. So I'm going to get this guy continued. The paint's kind of torn off of him as well as it's going to be. And I will say, the problems I had on the Sunstorm, on the Sunstorm figure, when I took him apart and stripped all the paint off of that, did not have the same issues. So where, let's see, find one of those pieces where all of these little holes cracked and broke off of it. So again, on this the Ghost Starscream figure I used for the Sunstorm, don't know if it was because it was knockoff plastic or if it was just the fact that it was translucent plastic. This guy did not have that problem. So I'm assuming good old Hasbro quality is much better here. So we're going to, normally I would say I'm going to get these guys taken apart and get going, but he's already taken apart. So I'm going to get going on getting this guy painted up. And let's see, I'm going to take his wings and going to mess them up with, going to get these wings all messed up with a soldering iron and try to make them look like they're melting. So wish me luck, and we'll get going on that.
All right, guys, so I've got this guy spray painted with the solid green that I'm going to use. I wanted to stop for a moment to show, before I painted the green on there, let's see if I can't get this to focus on the wing. I used a soldering iron and went in and did a lot of damage to several different areas on the figure. So it looks like he's got like little acid burns and melted spots on him. So let's see. You can kind of see. Maybe you can see. So you can see a lot of damage. Now I put that all over the body pieces as well. So you can see where he's going to have some damage, and that's going to be where a yellow wash and I've got some light green I'm going to use as well, and yellow, and then the last part I'll do is go over sections of it with the glow-in-the-dark paint. Now, I wasn't 100% sure how some of the wash and stuff would work, so I grabbed this old Jurassic Park gun and used it as a base to test paint some of the, do a couple washes and stuff on it just to see exactly how I'm going to paint on this guy before I actually do any painting on him. I also did damage on his forearms and hands because I'm going to paint those kind of heavily with the acid, so it looks like he's kind of got like an acid touch or something. Let's see, I don't know how well you're going to be able to focus on his head, but like half his head I hit with some damage as well, because I figured that'd be a nice contrast to have kind of a yellowish burn look, yellowish green glow on the side, one side of his head. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and put him back together before I start painting all the washes, because a lot of these pieces will overlap, so I want to make sure any of the wash goes across different sections of him. Looking at this now, I'm going to go ahead with this green because it was the paint I already had, and I think if I were to redo this figure, I would probably go get a flat color green and maybe a little not quite as bright green. It would probably be more of a faded, I don't know, like a yellowish green maybe, or something very flat or just lighter in tone. That way the acid and damage would be a lot brighter than the rest of him. So that's why I think I'm going to hit him with more of a wash, a general wash with the light green over the whole thing, and then do a dry brushing over all the damage with the yellow, and then go back and hit it with the glow-in-the-dark green, which is really kind of neon when it goes on. And I think you can kind of see some of that inside the cockpit there. It's a very bright, sickly looking green, so that should look pretty cool. And hopefully at the end of the video we'll be able to see the glow-in-the-dark actually working. So from that, I'm going to get back into putting him together and get him, get some. Beyond that, I'm going to get him put back together and start doing the washes over him.
Okay, gang, so here's our finished Acidstorm figure, and he's all painted up. He's got his all his little burned up acid bubbly detail worked in there from the soldering iron that put on there. I went ahead and messed up one side of his face, just kind of make that a little more asymmetric. And I don't know if you can see in there in the light, one of his eyes is the yellowish green of like his acid corrosion, and the other one's still red. But like I said, I don't know if you can see that well in the video or not. But he turned out pretty good. Like him for sure. The glow-in-the-dark paint that I put on over where all his wear and tear is at. I have not gotten it to actually glow, so it's probably just the brand of paint. The paint was just a from one of the craft stores like Michael's or something, and it was just something I grabbed to try anyway. I believe like the Tamiya brand paints has glow-in-the-dark paint as well, so that would probably work better than the craft paint, but again, I had that on hand, so we'll go ahead and get him out here with the original user of the mold here, a Starscream, and there he is. I don't have another Acidstorm from the actual store-bought version of him. He was a lighter shade of green than this, and he had brown and gray camo all over him, so he was kind of odd looking. I had seen several other customizers online years ago did this kind of treatment to the figure, and always thought I really wanted one of those, and finally got around to doing it, and I dig him. I used a solid green spray paint on him, and the green was really bright, a little too bright indeed. So then I used a lighter green and did a whole wash over every part of him that was green, and then went in with the sickly yellow color and did dry brush on that in all the areas that had his damage and whatnot on him, and then over all the spots where I dry brushed the yellow on it, that's where I put the glow-in-the-dark paint and dry brushed that on him. So, but here he is. We'll go ahead and get him transformed into jet mode. In his jet mode, and you can see I ran the acid corrosion all the way from nose to tip of the jet. All his wings and fins have that same treatment to them, painted in the acidy color corrosion in on the jet thrusters, and did a wash of the same color I used for the yellowish color I used on all his corrosion. I painted on the inside of the windshield as well, and we'll go ahead and compare him to the Starscream mold as well. Really should get something of an angle. Hold these things up. All right. So there they are together. Let's see how different they are. What's crazy to me is to think that I think of the Classics line as being such a new remake of the G1 figures, and this guy's already over 10 years old. I tell you, sometimes you just start feeling a little old. So we'll go ahead and get him back into robot mode for the final comparison. And here he is, and with a couple of the other Seeker Armada guys. Went ahead and snuck that guy back in there. That was one of my previous customs, Sunstorm. I'll put a link down below for him. And with finally finishing these two guys that I've had on my list to do for, a couple years now, I've had them on a list to do. So it's always nice when you can finally get some figures checked off your list that you've had on there for a while. But this will pretty much finish my Seeker army here for a little while anyway. I'll try to put a picture at the end of the video of all of the guys standing there together. So if you're, if you're feeling ambitious and interested in doing a figure like this, look in the description down below for the list of the paints that I used. Normally use Tamiya brand paints for all of my paints, but the base green that I used on him was a Rust-Oleum color, and that was just because I had the paint available, or had the paint handy, so I used that this time around. Other than that, give me a thumbs up and a comment. Subscribe if you really like what you see down here, and be sure to check out some of my other video links down below, and share the video if you know of anyone else that'd be interested in this stuff. And thanks a lot as always for stopping by.